So good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone today on this little gloomy and rainy Tuesday morning. But again, just to introduce myself, my name is Ali Cantu. I'm a registered dietitian with the Chef Program and the San Antonio Food Bank. So thank you for coming out to our fourth class for October of diabetes management. I know we've talked about a few different things, so I just wanted to do a quick recap of the previous four classes and also to test your knowledge just a bit from what you remember. But do y'all remember the first class? We were talking about making peace with diabetes. Do you remember a little bit of what we talked about that first class? We were talking a little bit just about diabetes, type 2 diabetes in particular, of how does that happen. Again, our cells are not answering to the key of insulin anymore, so it's not allowing the sugar to come into the house, if we think of it that way. We have our cells, which is our house, and the key is not working anymore. That key is insulin. And so it's not allowing the glucose, the sugar, to come into our cells. So that's why we'll see higher sugar levels or higher blood sugar. And so that's, again, just a little bit of how type 2 diabetes works, and where our cells are not listening to the insulin so much that it then our body stops producing insulin altogether. So just depending about type 2. But a little bit of the background. Then the second class, we talked about the diabetes plate method. Does anyone remember the diabetes plate method? Oh, yes.
Half is non-starchy.
Half non-starchy.
And then you divide it protein and carbs.
Protein and grains or any carbs. Yeah, any of our starchy veggies too will fit into that. And then sometimes too you can have the dairy, which we usually think of as separate, will also fall into a little bit of each of those sections. Right? And then anything else, any other takeaways from the diabetes plate method? The form. Ooh, yes, I love the form. You could do it breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. You got your form. I love it. And so if you need a form, just let me know. I can definitely print one off for you or get one for you. And it's another way to think about how we break up our plate, right? When we eat with the diabetes plate method, it helps to reduce it helps to manage our blood sugar level. So it's not like a roller coaster. It's a little bit more level because we're getting our carbs, our proteins, and our fats in a good mix and a good balance. Another pop quiz question, and does anyone remember the order to eat the food? Diane, the other dietitian that taught the class, she went through and talked about an order of the food. Non-starchy first, and then to go to your proteins, and then get your starchy veggies and your grains in there too. So helping to eat in that order, again, is going to balance your blood sugar levels out just a bit. So that was the second lesson. The third class we talked about last week was understanding carbohydrates. So there are three types of carbohydrates, sometimes a little tricky. We could think of carbohydrates as being sugars. And there's three types we talked about in there. It was starches, sugars, and then fiber. Can anyone tell me what a starchy vegetable or a starch would be? Potato. What was that?
Potato or rice.
Or rice. That could be some starchy grains, right? Yes.
Where does corn fall?
That's a great question. Corn falls into a starchy vegetable that you can consider it more like a grain almost. So you could think of it like rice when you're putting your plate together. Yeah, great question. I love it. We also did the overnight oats last week, right? I heard some great reviews from the overnight oats, that it's a quick, easy breakfast to have ready to go, right? And two, doing those overnight oats is one way that we can start meal planning or meal prepping and thinking about taking some of the stress away from preparing all of our foods. All right. So today we're going to jump into blood sugar and thinking about blood sugar as a balancing act of how do we balance our blood sugar to get the best effect for us. So blood sugar, when we think about it, is like a roller coaster. It can go up and down and is always fluctuating. No matter what we're doing throughout the day, blood sugar will always be changing. So when, actually, I wanted to point this out too, but before you leave today, I have a handout, and Diane made a beautiful handout for everybody on those non-starchy vegetables and starchy vegetables. So we have the non-starchy ones here, and these again are going to be what we want to have at least half of our plate in that diabetes plate method. All right. So half your plate of any of these. So you can build your plate with this as the base and then add on top of it. I know the recipe for that one, we did, I believe, tostadas deliciosas. You can do that with like a burrito bowl or a poke bowl, whatever you're wanting to use that day. So you have different variation. But welcome. I see we have a few people coming in today. And is this first time coming into class, or were you second time? Oh, wonderful. Well, again, my name's Ali Gunther, and I'm glad that you could join us today. So we're starting again with our fourth lesson of our series of blood sugar, a balancing act. So when we talk about blood sugar, we can think of it as, again, that roller coaster. What's happening when we eat food, right? We'll eat carbohydrates. Our body will break down the carbohydrate, and that then gets absorbed into our bloodstream, our blood system. And that's where we get our blood sugar levels from. And so we will have regularly rise and fall throughout the day. When it rises too high or falls too low, that's when we start having this concern. So we want to kind of keep it on this nice middle level, on a tightrope in between. So again, there are many different things that can affect our blood sugar levels. We can have stress. Stress is a chronic form of stress, can cause our blood sugar levels to spike because our body is in a constant state of a fight and flight mode. So it wants to have energy ready for us to sprint. If we're thinking of our predecessors before, some cavewomen, they would have to have energy to be able to use and sprint away from the nearest lion that's coming after them, right? I don't know how fast they'll be with a lion, but that's why we have, whenever we're in that stress mode, we have that chronic stress, we'll have sugar constantly being broken down in our body, so that way our body can respond quickly. So that's, again, stress is a predictor of how our blood sugar levels are doing. Exercise is another predictor. So the more we're exercising, our cells actually will respond to insulin just a little bit better. It's called insulin sensitivity. So the more we're able to exercise, the more we're able to respond in a positive way to the blood sugar. Another component too is our sleep. The more sleep we get, or having a good night's rest and sleep, the better we're able to use our blood sugar. And again, we're preventing our body from going into a state of stress if the more well-rounded sleep we have. All right. So again, just one key message to take away. So our blood sugar is affected by our sleep quality. It's affected by our stress and the way we manage stress. It also is affected by our exercise in addition to our food choices. So sometimes we can think blood sugar and approaching diabetes is just about what we eat. But in reality, there's a whole multiple factors that affect our blood sugar levels. And so just some things to think about moving forward from today. Again, before we jump in, and we have a fun recipe today of our dill pickle dip. We're talking about, I see some smiles over there. Do we like dill pickles?
Yes, very much.
Okay, I love it. Oh, nice, wonderful. I'm glad to hear. So we're doing a dip today because we're talking about how do we manage our blood sugar levels in between a breakfast and a lunch, or maybe more of a lunch and a dinner. Wherever we're at, managing blood sugar levels is very helpful, especially when we're promoting wound healing or any holistic body healing as well. So what we want to do is make sure we're not having those huge spikes or low dips. Those low dips are hypoglycemia or low blood sugar levels, right? Had anybody heard of that before? Show of hands, low blood sugar levels. What do you think of, or how do you feel when you feel your blood sugar going low? Tired? Faint, right? You may be a little shaky, right? Or you can't concentrate or focus too well. So again, signs of low blood sugar levels, and that's usually what we think about, anything below 70 milligrams per deciliter. It's a specific term, but the sweet spot that we want to stay in is between 80 and 120, and that's whenever we take our blood sugar. This is below that, below even 70. 70 is what we'd see extra low, and we start to feel these symptoms that can be a concern to us all. So a quick tip that I would like to give, if you feel your blood sugars are getting low, and this is again going to be for anybody that's concerned, not just a diabetic, we want to do 15 for 15. So that means 15 grams of sugar and wait 15 minutes, and it'll help regulate your blood sugar levels just a little bit. And if it's still too low at that point, then you can assess after 15 minutes. But we say 15 at 15. So 15 grams of sugar is a really precise measure, and I like to think of it as something a little bit more practical that I'm going to find around me. So it could be a slice of bread. It could be also about half a cup of fruit juice. You could also do about 2 tablespoons of a dried fruit. That's going to be about 15 grams of sugar, and that's going to be a quick acting or a simple sugar. Depending on the type of bread, if you have more of a whole grain bread, it may be a little bit more complex. But again, we want to take those 15 grams of sugar and then wait 15 minutes, and you see how you feel after that. If you were actually to check your blood sugar, that you could see a change. Is it just in your sweet spot of 80 to 120? And everyone has a different sweet spot. That's just a very generic 80 to 120. But I saw a question.
How much dry fruit did you say?
About 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons.
That is when you feel that it's low.
Feel when you're kind of bottoming out, you have maybe shaky, you're a little hungry at that point too. Your body's telling you, hey, something is going on. We're bottoming out at the bottom of our roller coaster, and that's not a good spot to be in or to stay in too long. So that's why our body's natural response is let's eat. And so this is one thing you can do to kind of manage it out. 2, if you have a candy, sometimes candy can be a quick, simple sugar, right, to help raise that blood sugar. Just look on each of the different candies what it has. If that's what you have on hand, then that's what you have on hand, and I say take it to help manage those blood sugars. Just see how much each of the candy pieces has. So just quick tip for helping to manage those blood sugar. But again, that's the bottoming out portion. Let's think of that high, we're at the too high hyperglycemia. And that's where, again, we have higher than a 120, and sometimes that can be in a range for people of how much blood sugar levels they're experiencing. When it comes to consistency to help avoid that high peak point, it's to have those balanced meals, right? We don't want to have that simple sugar that's going to spike us up too quick, but we also want to have a consistency of having food every about 2 to 4 hours, whatever is a good spot for you, and depending on how much you ate the meal or the snack before, this is where we can keep it from just spiking and dropping very quickly and preventing that super high hyperglycemia, high blood sugar, is to eat about every 2 to 4 hours, depending on what you ate. If it was a small little snack like what we're gonna make today, maybe you may need to eat and then another 2 hours or so, and that's perfectly fine. You're listening to your body, and that's the key point that we wanna get out of all of this. It's a balancing act, so we wanna listen to our body and not ever negate what we're feeling. We wanna listen. So again, keeping that balance, it could be that you could feel hyper and it has similar symptoms to hypo. So you may be on that top, very high blood sugar levels, but the symptoms can sometimes look like low blood sugar levels. So test it out too and start listening to your body. If anyone does check their blood sugar levels, that's where you can really get an accurate measure of where you're at on that scale. So just again, listen to your body and see how you're feeling after too. If even after you eat, and if that helps to alleviate it, then you know you are at a low point. So that's just one way to kind of manage these blood sugars. But I do want to get to cooking because that's what we're here for, right? We are gonna make a dill pickle dip today. This dip, again, we have our base of some Greek yogurt. And we've used Greek yogurt a few times in the past. What were the benefits of Greek yogurt and why are we using it? Can anyone share? The protein piece of the Greek yogurt, right? Again, it's helping to have a good combination of protein, which helps to kind of keep our blood sugar levels pretty balanced, along with, it does have some sugars in there, but not as much. And then we're doing a plain, so no sugar at all is added into the yogurt already, which is great. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my yogurt in.
What exactly makes it Greek?
Greek, it's the way in which they created the yogurt. So the way they make the yogurt is it's taking just regular yogurt and they're straining it multiple times and processing it so that it gets nice and thick. And the Greeks were the ones, I believe, that first designed this type of process. That's why it's a little bit lumpier and higher in protein.
Can you substitute sour cream for Greek yogurt on an even basis or no?
You
Is it going to be nutritionally?
So that's where it won't line up as much. The sour cream is going to have higher fat content. This one is a low fat option, so no fat was used
I just
for this one.
you read a lot of recipes that says Greek yogurt or
sour cream.
You know, they seem like they're just interchangeable for everything, but not nutritional.
Yeah.
Okay.
So similar in flavor and taste, like you were saying, Faye, but again, nutritional wise, it's not going to add up. It's going to be a lot higher in the fats that we're seeing. All right, so we're going to make a little bit of a smaller recipe. On the recipe card that you have today, it's showing for about 4 servings. So we're going to make about half of that, and you could take some home if you want to too. But I'm starting off with 1 cup of that plain Greek yogurt, and I'm just going to give it a nice mix in. We're also getting some really great calcium in it too, right? A good mineral to add to help with our bone support. And then we're also getting probiotics. And I don't know if y'all went over it last time. Probiotics are those helpful bacteria that we get to add into our gut. So just some extra benefits with our yogurt today. So I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to grab our dill pickles. So this is the next portion, and it's going to give us the flavor for our dip today. We're going to do dill pickle dip. So every tray should be enough for about 2 people. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to finely dice our dill pickles, our pickle spears. Before we get cutting today, actually I forgot, I had given everyone a little wet paper towel. So we're going to do some kitchen safety too today. I know we've talked about it in the past, but these dill pickles and then all of our veggies are pretty slippery, so we don't want our cutting board to go anywhere. I have just a wet paper towel. I'm going to open it up and put it right underneath our cutting mat. This is going to give us a little bit more friction. I'm going to kind of set it down, and now it's not going to move at all. Right underneath, and I'm set. Yes, yep, that's it. You can do sometimes even like the liners for your kitchen drawers if you have extra liner at home. Ooh, I love that. That's a great idea for the cake too. And then with our knife, again, I know some of you may heard me talk about some knife safety too, but just to reiterate for everybody, the best way to hold a knife and helps relieve some of the tension in our wrist is to pinch right here up at the top, and then the last 3 fingers are gonna curl underneath it. So now I have a really good control, and it's gonna take a little bit of the pressure off of my wrist. Then as I'm going ahead and getting my dill pickle spear, I'm gonna use the claw method. I wanna protect my fingers always, so I'm gonna go ahead and use the claw as I make some long slices, make our spear even longer. And then I'm gonna turn it on its side, and I'm just gonna do a 90-degree flip and make small dices with it as well. And then one way, if you're ever like moving for speed in the kitchen or using a knife, the best way to cut too is to have the tip of the knife always down on your cutting mat or cutting board, and then just do a gliding motion too. So that's what we like to do. Alrighty. Ooh. So you can do some thicker chunks or smaller chunks, whatever size of dill pickle you want in your dip today. And once you have that, we're gonna add it directly into the bowl of yogurt. This is gonna give us the most of our flavor today. And one thing too, I know in the past we've talked about concern of how much sodium we're intaking. And so this is gonna have very limited sodium, but again, because pickles are made in a brine, it's usually high sodium. One spear had about 250 milligrams, which is pretty high. I know, one spear, we're using 2 spear per recipe today. So instead what I did is I went ahead and I drained it out, and then I rinsed it just once. I still wanted the flavor, and you can tell there's a lot of flavor still in the dill pickle. But I rinsed it so that way it didn't have as much sodium and as much salt content on it. So again, always the tip or trick to help manage how much salt, how much sodium we're taking. All right. And then 2, we're not going to add any more salt or any more sodium to it. But I see anyone taste the dill pickle right now? I know my mouth is already watering just a little bit, right? You had to taste it? What is the first thing that you thought of when you tasted it?
The salt.
The salt. Not as salty? It's still pretty salty. You'll have to try another one. Any memories? I know last time I talked a little bit of sometimes the food that we eat bring back memories. Does anyone with either smelling the dill pickle or tasting it, does it bring back any memories for you? Grandma with pickles? I love it. It reminds me of being in like summer, the baseball park, and just watching a game and eating a pickle, right? Oh yeah. Alrighty. So once we go ahead and add our dill pickle in, and you can add as much or little as you want, we're sticking to about 2 spears again, just to control how much flavor we're adding in. But we're gonna use our herbs and spices too to add more flavor into what we have today. So I have a spice blend. If you open it, what do you smell? What are some of the ingredients you smell? What do you it smells good? What do you smell? Any whiffs of anything? So I'll give you a hint. We have dill in a few different variations today. So we have it here in our spice blend. Can you smell the dill now when you think of it? We had it in our pickle, And then we have some fresh dill too. So this is going to be dried. We have fresh. We're adding all types of dill to get the flavor in our dip today.
Because you rinsed it off, you're trying to get the flavor out?
Well, so we rinsed it so it didn't have as much sodium, but it still has the dill flavor in it. We're just wanting to infuse our dip in multiple ways with this. Now, it may be a secret, 2 other secret spices in here. Can anyone? Good deal with checking. So we have garlic and onion powder mixed in today. And again, that's going to help bring out some more flavor, make it a little bit more of a savory yogurt dip versus sometimes we think yogurt and only think of breakfast or sweet items. So we're making it savory with the onion and the garlic too. So I'm going to add it straight in. You may see it once you mix it all in, the onion and the garlic. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep on mixing until it's evenly spread throughout. Yeah, do you smell anything? What do you smell? You smell the garlic now when you mix it in? So we're doing our savory dip. And then we're going to add dill again in another variation. So we have fresh dill today as well. And again, instead of adding salt and fats or other ways to get the flavor to come out, we're using herbs and spices, something quick and easy you can have even lying at home, maybe grow at home in a garden too. But we're going to go ahead and also add our dill. So what I like to do is I'm going to use just mainly the leaves part. I'm going to take off the stem because it's a little bit denser, a little bit thicker. Some herbs you can keep it, like cilantro. It's soft enough to where you can keep it and add it in. I don't like it as much in this flavor. But before I start cooking, I'm going to cutting it, I'm going to roll it just a little to get some more aromatics out of it. To get some of the aromatics, the flavor and the scent coming out. And I'm going to just roll it just a little bit on my cutting mat. And then after you roll it with your fingers, smell your fingers. And that's how I know, okay, I think I got enough scent coming out of how much I want today. And I'm going to give it a nice quick just chop. And this is supposed to be about another 2 teaspoons of dill. Even as you're cutting, if anyone, as you're cutting, can you smell it too? Just a little more. I love the freshness of dill, and that's why this dip always makes me super happy and excited. Right? It's a beautiful herb to have. If you ever have fresh herbs at home, you can always put it in a little mason jar or vase by a window and treat them like flowers. You can have them continue to kind of regrow, or if you have them in a container, you get them from H-E-B or Walmart in a container, you can just keep them growing at home. But they stay a little bit more fresh if you keep them like flowers. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and add this right on in. I'm going to say that's about 2 teaspoons. And again, a nice quick mix. All right, so our dill pickle dip is looking very dill to me. What do you think? I smell it. It looks more like dill pickles and some dill mixed in. And then the last ingredient that we're going to use is going to be our lemon. So again, the dried herbs and spices are going to have a little bit more flavor and have a stronger flavor than the fresh ones. So the fresh dill that we're adding in today is just to give it a light and fresh flavor, and then we'll get more of the denseness, I guess, of the taste from the dried herb today. All right. So the last piece too is we're going to use some lemon juice to help bring out all the flavor. Again, we're not using any extra sodium, any extra salt. We're using it with the citrus. And so when you're at the grocery store, the tip I like to know is to see if it's ripe and ready or if it's going to be very flavorful type of lemon and lime is you can scratch and sniff. Just like we think of those stickers from a few years ago, you can scratch and sniff. Scratch and sniff the top of it. And if it smells aromatic, that's how you know it's going to be a good lemon. And it's going to be juicy and it has the flavor. Then I'm going to just roll it in my hands. Oh yeah, I have a whole one. I'm going to try to get as much juice out of this one. And I'm going to go cut long ways.
I put it in the microwave and heat them for like 10 seconds to get more juice.
You can do that too. It helps to loosen up the fibers within or inside the lemon. So that's perfect. And I'm going to do about half right now and taste it with some of our flavors and then see if I want more lemon or not. And that's the best part is that you can mix and add as much as you want. Watch out with those seeds. All right. It helps also to thin out our texture just a bit. All right. Okay. What other spices or what other flavors would you add into your own dill pickle dip at home?
Caraway seeds.
Caraway seeds. What is the flavor? I'm not too familiar with caraway seeds.
It's unique. I don't know, but I like
Yeah.
it a lot.
The caraway seeds. I love that. I'll have to try that now. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone add any spice to it? Paprika? Maybe a little. Cayenne. Ooh. I like that a lot. Some cayenne. You can add, and it'll change a little bit too, just the way it looks and the flavor of it. I like that. So now we have our dip is ready and set to go. I have my party tray here ready. I know the Halloween's coming up and then we're gonna get soon into the holidays. So this is a quick, simple snack you can do with people coming over. Again, we're also trying to help manage those blood sugar levels, right? So we're eating every 2 to 3 hours. A healthy dip we just made at home. You can also make it like your own ranch dip too, just depending on what we add to it. And then we're gonna pair it with some extra veggies to cut today. So we're gonna practice our chopping skills and we're gonna cut some of our carrots into some carrot strips or carrot sticks. So the best way I like to do this is I'm gonna cut off the top, and if anyone has a garden at home, anyone like to grow fruits or vegetables, anything? Yes? Ooh, I see some hands, awesome. You could take home your carrot top, put in a little bit of water for a few days, and you'll see the carrot stem start to regrow.
Drop the whole thing in water.
Just drop it in water, and then you'll start to see the carrot top start to grow again. You'll see the greens, and then you can put it right into your garden, and it'll leave it for a little bit. With the pineapple top too? I have not heard that. That's awesome. Oh, I love that. So you could take it with your carrots too. And I'm gonna make some carrot sticks. Again, carrots are very hard to cut right because they're round. So we're gonna wanna try to get it as close as we can to a flat surface as possible. So I'm gonna first go down. Whoop. There we go. And then, so try to get it as like to your flat surface as soon as possible. So I just cut my carrot into thirds and then I went straight down one of the thirds. So now I have it flat and it's not gonna roll. I feel pretty safe now cutting and I can go ahead and make some smaller pieces out of that too. Yeah. Do you have a question? Yeah. You're good. Yeah. So there we go. We got some carrot sticks. Now, quick question. What food group or which category would carrots fall under? Starchy or non-starchy? Starchy because it's a root veggie. Yep. So, and I was like, I'm going to even check our little handout here. But so actually, let me double check that. Our handy dandy guide for non-starchy veggies, carrots are actually considered then a non-starchy veggie. But that's a trick one, and that even got me, so I had to double check myself. Yeah.
So in safety, you didn't have to fill this out first?
You don't have to. I did rinse it and scrub them. And so I just wanted to make sure anything on the outside. Yeah. No, not that I know of. As long as you wash all your produce, that's the key. Yeah. So I got some carrots here. Alrighty. I know. Oh, I gotcha. Some chips to go with it too. And then just to finish off some more of these peppers, we have these bite-sized peppers. I like to cut them into, again, sticks, just so it's a little bit easier, because sometimes they're very juicy when you bite in just like this. So again, just treat it like a regular bell pepper. Have y'all seen these before? Yeah? You buy them? I know, they're so tasty, and you can... Ooh. I know. They can go quickly. So cutting it too, even in half or in fourths, will make it last just a little bit longer for my snack time at least. And so I'm going to go ahead. We're aiming for that flat surface. So I took the top off and then I went straight down. So that way I could just go straight down this way from the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and take out the seeds. You could use your knife to take out the seeds, but instead I'm just going to go straight with my fingers. This gets a little messy. But again, just taking out all of our seeds. And then I'm going to cut it into fourths.
What do you do with carrots when they're split?
Ooh.
Do you worry about washing it?
I do. I try to wash inside as closely as possible, just because we want to make sure that there's nothing that either leftover dirt from when they were picked out of the ground. That's what I'm always concerned about. All right, so we are building our own snack platter for today. And then I have some whole grain pita chips too, and some pretzels. So I got you with the chips. Yes, if y'all want to come and grab some, and then you can also grab 2 from the tray. But again, just a quick and simple snack. We're talking about managing that balancing act of blood sugar levels. Here we go. And so the best way we're doing that, we're trying to get our carbohydrates, our proteins, our fat. So just to break it down, the protein, what are we using for our protein source today? The Greek yogurt, right? And then our carbohydrates. All right, what was that? The pickle is, it's gonna be, again, it's just a cucumber that we pickled, that we got the brine. The carb, so it is going to be like a non-starchy vegetable, right? Because the cucumber is going to be that non-starchy. But we're also using our crackers and our pita chips as our carbohydrate for today. And a little bit of pretzels too. And then we have some fats. Do we have any fats here? Any fat in our mixture today? So it's a non-fat yogurt, but again, we met everything. We didn't have that component or macronutrient today. Well, I know it's about time to snack and chow down. I just wanted to hear from you. Once you start tasting it, what are you tasting? What do you like about it, or don't like about it? like the salt. It's a crunchy snack? Yeah, I love it. Wonderful.
And because it's homemade, it's fresh.
It's fresh, and you know exactly what's going into it, so you don't have to guess what is in the ranch really. You can make it your own, which is wonderful. Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed today. We'll have a Halloween holiday snack time and some more pumpkin and some spooky snacks too for next week. So I hope you can join us to finish up, and we'll tie a little bit of nutrition into it. But do you have any questions today before we wrap up?
No, but I love anything pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice? I love it. Okay, we'll do our best. We'll do our best to get some pumpkin spice. Again, too, the recipe that you have is for about 4 portions. So you can make this and then save it. It would save anywhere between 3 to 5 days. Again, just be a little bit more on the cautious side. But about 3 to 5 days, you can make this at home, store it, and save it. Another way to have a quick snack ready to go, a little meal prepping for you taken out.
We know everything that's in it. We don't have to read this.
Yep, you know exactly what into your dip today, into your snack. So wonderful. I'm glad. I hope you liked today's snack. If you have any questions, we'll definitely be here, but I hope you enjoy. Thank you for cooking with us today.